Be advised, you are coming in weak and unreadable.
Say again, Com Tower. This is Pacho. Do you read me over?
Pacho, this is Com Tower. I read you leave a charge.
Com Tower, Com Tower. Request permission to launch and commence the field op. Over.
Stand by. Pacho, permission granted. I say again, permission granted.
Roger that. Launching podcast in 3, 2. You are now entering the field op with your host, Pacho Correa, Chief 1 Officer 3, United States Marine Corps retired. Get some. Hurrah!
Get some. All right. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Another week down in the books. Baby Friday is upon us, or Friday Night Eve, as I also like to call it. But goddamn, almost the weekend. Hey, we got an amazing show for you. We got an amazing guest. I think it's overdue. But before we get started, we get into all the stuff and our guests. Let's get all the pleasantries out of the way. So, as you know, this show has been a great thing. And when was the last time that you took at your quarterly statements for your investment? I just made a post on this the other day. So, from your investments, whether it's through your 401k at your job or your thrift savings plan, every quarter they should be either sending you an email or some type of paper document. A lot of us that receive paper, we just kind of do the whole round file type of thing, and we just chuck it in the garbage. I would highly advise for you not to do that. Take a look in there, so that way you can tell how your 401k, how your thrift savings plan, how all those things have been performing this last quarter, and in case that you may have to do some adjustments. But the bottom line is, at the end of the year, you want to do a cumulative assessment as to, hey, how long, this year, what that has looked like, and is it meeting your goals and for your financial future, what is that you intend to do? So if you don't know how to do that, give me a call. I'll be more than glad to give you and walk you through the process, give you some good information, and whether whether you like or not what you hear. I mean, I just want to educate you and share some information with you. No commitments, no BS, just good information, so that way you're more educated and empowered. And also, this show, we're a huge advocate for the VA. I mean, the VA is good. It's not perfect. However, it is a system that, it's there for us veterans. So I highly, encourage you to go ahead and, look into, where you're at on your claims and disabilities. And if you're really, being compensated. If not, if you need assistance, I can point you in the right direction and get you some good gouge as far as that goes. Because, at the end of the day, you gave your pound of flesh and for God, country, and soul. You need to be compensated for it, because as we get older, things start going sideways. So you want to make sure that you document everything is in there. So if you have any questions, reach out to the show. We'll be more than glad to walk you through the process. Last but not least, hey, look, this show wouldn't be here today, and we wouldn't be able to talk trash and smack and have these awesome guests if it wasn't for all the great freedoms that this, not only this nation provides for us, but also that amazing document, which is the American Constitution. So if you support our show and you support America, God damn it, you support America. So hey, like, subscribe, and follow. If not, if you don't like it, hey, that's okay too, because hey, we're all about freedom of speech, the right to bear arms, and all good stuff. So you can swipe left. Check out some from SitchRadio.com. They got some amazing shows on there as well. So support your local podcasters. So with that being said, folks, hey, let's go ahead and kick off this show. So hey, I mean, I've been doing this for a couple of years now, and we have some amazing people, including yourselves, listening to the show. So hey, if you want to be a part of the show, don't be afraid to reach out. I'll be, like, as I said 2 shows ago, this show is about building a community and a network. So if you have a side gig, side hustle, whatever, and you want to talk about your military career, shoot me a direct message. I'll bring you on the show. I want to hear your story, and I'm sure there's plenty of people out there too. So with that being said, this Angel is one of our great supporters of the show. She's always throwing some really good comments, and sometimes funny, sometimes it makes you think. So I say, hey, why not bring her on? So hey, why don't we bring this Angel to the show, and let's talk with her for a little bit. What's going on, Angel? How are you?
Pretty good. How are you? Enjoying the end of, I guess, summer. The end of free time.
Nice. Hey, Angel, first of all, hey, thanks for joining our show
Thank you.
and dedicating a little bit of your time because again, we wanna hear your story. So with that being said, uh tell me a little bit, tell us what branch are you representing today? Who you with?
Army, first Cav, all day, every day. I claim
Nice.
them like I claim my home. I went into the military out of college because I was, smoking and joking and partying in college, and I was on probation, academic probation, and I could have appealed, and I'm sure I could have won, but I knew that I didn't have discipline in my life. I never had my dad around, and my mom never really disciplined me, so I thought you're probably either going to end up in jail if you keep on, going down the wrong path, or try to see, if you can enlist somewhere. And I
Did
found the
it
army.
did anything, like for me, obviously, what made me join the Marine Corps
Mhm.
was obviously a few good men. My buddy had two of my friends were kind of thinking about it, and around that time, I mean, I did look at all the armed forces. I think it was just more than timing. Heartbreak Ridge a couple of years back had come out.
Probably. Yep.
All those things kind of influenced me. So what kind of pulled you in that direction, or was it somebody or an influence that brought you into
I
the
don't
service?
I don't know. I just if I've ever really seen anything military related, like you're saying in a movie,
Yeah.
or it was always army. If I
Okay.
played with anything, it was always army. It wasn't no Marines, it wasn't no
Right.
Navy,
Right.
it was, and so when I went and enlisted, they said, look, you can be a mechanic, or you can be a veterinarian, um, and a cook. And I was like, I mean, I can go to a restaurant, and I can go to a veterinarian, but like if I'm broke down on the side of the road as a female, what would suit me better to have some knowledge about? And so I, enlisted as a mechanic.
Nice. And you and I have obviously we chatted right before before the show and a couple of days ago. We do have a common ground because I
Yeah.
too I have I came in as a mechanic. I wanted to actually, I mean, that recruiter, I think he saw me coming like 10 miles because I was like, I love motorcycles and I still do. It's been a passion of mine forever and a day. And I was like, yeah, I want to, I want to work on motorcycles. And he's like, hey, the Marine Corps we got dirt bikes and da da da. Well, lo and behold, that when I checked into a motor pool, they phased out the Honda 250s. So but yeah,
Got
we have the mechanical background. So how was that for you? And obviously, it is highly male competitive field, so to speak. How was that you being?
Man.
How was
It
that
took
for you?
me.
And I don't want to put the gender line out there,
Yeah,
but how was
no, but
that?
it is. It's a very obvious. Yeah, it's a very. I mean, even in just the military, there's not a whole lot of females in the military. Period. And um, I want to say it took me a while to realize that they're like. I mean, at least I would say a majority of my military career when I was, being a mechanic, there's like a lightweight handful of us. Like there's not, you look around, and I was new. So I thought, oh, there's a female in the motor pool. Maybe, she's another. No, she does, fuel. No, the other female, does parts. No, the other female does dispatch, and I was like, well, these men are always, they're here to teach me and to supervise me, and I've always gotten along well with men, but I don't think I really realized that, like, let's say in my whole, military career, I would come across less than like five, I would say, female mechanics, and I was in for like 14, 13 years.
And I'm sure that you got a lot of props and respect being a wrench turner, especially I mean, even in our motor pool because pretty much that was I mean I was in the motor pool my entire career, man. And
Yeah.
if we had some of my best mechanics actually were female mechanics. I mean, because they were
Right.
detailed.
Right.
When we QC'd a vehicle, I mean, hardly ever did that thing ever fail. I mean, and I think also because they had someone to prove. So because of that, I was like, hey, she's the new Q. That's my new QC right there. I would, or hey, she's the new MIMS. Because I know you guys use the MIMS system. She's my new MIMS, MIMS person because And I
Yep.
knew that shit was gonna be entered in the system. Well, now we use GCS, Global Combat Service Support System.
Mm-hmm.
But before that, I mean, because I knew there were, people, the guys would half-ass shit sometime. I mean, let's just be honest.
I didn't realize though for years that there's a competitiveness to it. You
Oh,
know,
yeah.
like I was blind. So we're getting ready for deployment, you know what I'm saying, where it's getting down to rosters and names and positions, and you got to have, you either got the slot or you don't. And the gentleman that was doing the wrecker before I got there, he had never been to the training. And so I had no idea that I was stepping on toes coming in the gate, because first of all, he's
Yeah.
been here longer. Second of all, he's a male. Third of all, he was like yoked, and I think it really upset him where he just, I think he kept that chip on his shoulder about it forever, that on deployment, it was mine. Once we were getting ready to train at NTC, and, that his hands were off. I don't think he liked that.
So which vehicle variants did you, and you being a wrecker operator, because in the Marine Corps, when I first came in, when we talked, it was its own separate, a wrecker operator. Usually
Right.
they grabbed them out of the mechanics, the mechanic field, because obviously you want a wrecker operator to be a mechanic, so that way they either fix it on the spot or they pull it. I don't know how it is in the Army, but if mechanic ever pulled something into the motor pool, there better be. It was kind of like what do they call it? A badge of honor. It looked bad if that thing was on the hook. If it was pulling it in, that thing better be deadline. I mean, axles better be falling, whatever. But
tires,
right. They better be rolling in with that bitch by driving by itself, because if not, I mean, it better be grenaded. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I didn't realize either there were so many options. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like in regards to what you're kind of mentioning is like a plan of action. What are we gonna do when we're in the convoy and something breaks down? And so my NCO had hooked up tow bars, had given people tow straps, and basically placed the responsibility on them. You get a flat tire or whatever, hook it and drag it yourself, because that, like you said, he was trying to explain, the wrecker is like if something gets blown up or it just can't do nothing with, it can't be towed by another vehicle or something.
Right. Yeah. You either you launch it first, or it's your sweeper. And I mean, you only got one hook, and if you only got two wreckers in your entire convoy or your stick, then I mean, you better have a good reason why you want to use it as a last resort. So when you were in, so where did you get to deploy and in support of which time frame and stuff, and during Freedom, OEF, OIF?
Iraq for almost the full year of 2004, and I think it was like OIF and then like the end of OEF, but that time frame.
Oh wow. And how was that? Did you have any were you in support? Were you doing motor transportation support, or was there any other ancillary benefits?
It took me a while to figure out, because you train, but you're not really at war, so you don't know how logistically and who's going to be. So it took me a while to figure out that like my whole job was really the record. Like if I don't have nothing to do with my record and it's just sitting there and it's working dandy and there's no mission going on, recovery wise, then I'm supporting motor pool and I'm on the other Humvees and stuff. But what they ended up doing and what became my routine really was going around and trying to hustle for parts, because
scrounging.
You know what I'm saying? People got stuff on the books. They got to explain where it's at. And then I need something that I can't order and have it here in 2 days or, so I had to rub some elbows, man. And I don't have a skill set for that. So I think just being a female carried me a long way, because they could see me coming. Like you said, your recruiter saw it. They could see me coming like, oh, that's a female. Oh, she came here yesterday for parts. We got to have her stuff ready or whatever,
Yeah. Yeah. No, it was good. I became really good at scrounging parts, especially on deployments. I mean, I think we were talking about this, is that at one point in time, so we were in Iraq. We were, I think, like, about 10, 15 clicks away from Baghdad. We We call this Camp Dogwood, I believe is what it was. Anyways, it was an army base camp, and they had a reserve unit, and they were all basically a support unit. So they had mechanics and engineer mags, just reg. So, anyways, I used to with the sergeant first class, I used to go there all the times. So it was one unit for this, and then if I needed to send out, my MIMS report, my menace
Yeah.
management reports, we went to another dude, but that dude had internet access. So in order for us to send emails and whatever back home, so
Yeah.
we were in our log trains, we will pick up ice. We'll buy ice out in town and we use that shit as basically as money.
Raid.
You know
Yep.
what I'm saying? So hey, we use the internet over there. We gave him a block of ice, and the other one we need a
Right.
pump. We gave him ice. So
I want to say who our motor pool became friends with really quickly was Supply and the
yeah,
defect.
yeah. You have
My
oh
NCO
yeah,
would get some kind of animal, something for us to, roast and eat, or, something for us to do extra, just for the motor pool.
yeah, yeah. So how long were you in total, Angel?
A week before September 11th,
Oh
2001
wow.
to, I thought it was 2013, 2014, but that's when I got out and quit going to drill. So I guess on the paperwork, actually it's 2015. So I just figured 13, 14 years.
Oh wow. Yeah. So as we were transitioning, so you were an active duty and then you did reserves sometime in the reserves as well.
Yeah, I want to say one of, when they were phasing out those first like 2-year contracts.
Yeah, yeah,
So I was, that contract was coming up to an end, and I had just missed, I mean, by a hair, the stop loss, because I was technically stop lost at first. And then, they had let, I guess, my whatever date it was, or, I got to slide through. But I didn't want my motor pool and stuff to deploy without me. And I also wanted LASIK surgery because I had,
yeah.
glasses for, I mean, since like 6th grade probably. And so my NCO took me to the sergeant major, and the sergeant major approved my surgery. And he said, don't tell anybody else, because I've already turned down soldiers. But he said, since you're extending your enlistment for deployment, I will allow you to do this, and you better be, deployment ready when we're out the door. And I was like, I promise. And so I ended up going. But then when I got back and now it's time for me to get out, I went straight into the reserves.
Okay. Yeah, I
And
kind of
I
did
went
something
back to
similar.
California from Texas.
Yeah, I kind of did something similar after my first enlistment. I got out, came to Florida, then moved back out because at the time I had met my kid's mom. That's a couple of podcasts right there. Long story short, I did join the reserves and came back to active duty. But I did end up getting years later my PRK, because I didn't do LASIK. My PRK thing lasted like 14 years, and in
Nice.
2018 I had to get glasses all over again. But we were talking about earlier that everybody knows the story about while you're in the service, and we can talk about oh yeah, I did this, blah. But what about post service? What did you find yourself as a soldier
Yeah.
kind of struggling? Now there's no more battle buddies, no
Yeah.
more no more bullshitting at the at the dispatcher office on a Friday before
Yeah.
everybody's gonna go to the E Club and just get hammered. There's
Yeah.
no more of that. So what happens to that soldier? What happened to Angel
Man.
during that time frame and that transition, or months after that transition?
I feel like unless you're really well prepared for it, you don't realize it's kind of like being in the military. The good times are happening until they're not no more. And I feel like it was almost like a complete identity crisis. The only people that know me as Sergeant Villanueva are in Texas, and I was in California. My family never really knew me or saw me. I was gone when I was serving. And then I had switched over my MOS too. So like when I went into the reserves, I wasn't a mechanic no more. I went in as a paralegal. And so now it's like, I don't know, kind of like switching schools. You go to a high school and it's like you have these friends. I knew all my mechanic homies, and then I went into the reserves, and now I have new friends. But then I was out and I was lost. Like, who do you got? Where do you go? What kind of job do you want? I don't even know. It was all question marks, question marks. And it took a while. I feel like until I wanted to become a mom and, just do more and be more, then that finally gave me a north, that was finally my direction. And because I feel like before then I was just kind of trying to do the best I could, be a better person, go to school, and it took a long time to realize, like, you have been affected by the military. You're a different person. You're not, Patterson, California, homegrown, back on the block with your homies. Like, you're a completely different person. What do you do with that? So
And
I just shoved it all down, dude. I don't know, until, I don't know, I
how
guess,
did
like
you
I said, till I became a mom.
how did you feel? Because I want to get your point of view. Uh, so you're back on the block with your
Right,
homies, as you put it.
right.
How was that interaction? Did you see eye to eye with
Oh,
them?
dude.
Uh, you know, because you said you went. You've been. I guess let's just say we've been indoctrinated,
Yeah.
where we've done all these. How was that interaction, and how did you feel? Um, being back in the block. Did you feel like you belong or didn't? Tell me about that.
I feel like I didn't belong anywhere. I didn't belong with my
Yeah,
family. I no longer
yeah,
belong with my homies that are still in. They're
yeah.
still in. They're still living that life that we all knew. Like you said, it was
Right.
all routine.
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't belong, so I think I found places to put myself where I belonged. Hey, you're a student now at California State University, Stanislaus.
Okay.
Hey, you're a student now at, whatever other schools I went to. And I feel like at least that surrounded me with people, but still very much I was on the outside of that circle, you know?
Yeah, and for the first time I got out, I 100% because here you are, your friends kind of stayed, and they go to school, whatever, their life continues in this path, and here you are, however many years you've deployed, you've done this, you've done that, all these other things. I mean,
Yeah.
you're trained. We are all a trained weapon. I mean, we know how to
Yeah.
use, I'm sure that you were still the army at that time was shooting with iron sights when you
Yep.
came in. So, I mean, you know how to BZO a weapon, how to shoot it from 200, 300, 5, for us, 500 yards, iron sights. I mean, so yeah, I did feel out of place too, in the sense like, man, here you are bitching about, your whopper flopper job and whatever.
Mhm.
It's like, dude, if you've seen some of the shit that I've seen, I mean, and
Yeah.
people just you know fighting for an MRE
Yeah.
that you dropped on the ground
Just the
in outside
water.
of Baghdad,
A
you know what I'm
half
saying?
fucking used, half gone bottle of
Right.
water.
Yeah.
Not even nothing new, not even nothing unopened, just trash.
And here you are complaining about, you whatever that your burger has fucking onions and it's
Yep.
not cut in half, you know what I'm saying?
Where I found myself finally, like,
Yeah.
where I felt I belonged and I am a part of, this is me, us,
Right.
the PTSD groups, when I
Yeah.
started going to the PTSD groups at the VA, because I want to say a majority of them were Vietnam War era veterans.
Right.
And
Yeah.
they were so open with each other and honest. And I couldn't believe it. Number one, like, how brave you got to be to make yourself vulnerable in a group of people. Because I'm talking about physically, there were like 30, 40 people every Friday in that group.
And how did you
And
come about, or I guess when did the self-realization come? Like, hey, there's some shit in here, residual
yeah,
from my time,
yeah,
that, coupled with life experiences before the service, that
yeah,
shit, I need to address some shit.
yeah.
When did that self-realization came?
I think that was probably okay. So I got back from Iraq in 2005, and that's when I got out active duty, went into the reserves.
Right.
Well, then what's the next logical step, right? You've gone to college, you've gone to the military,
Right.
you've deployed. Let's get married, right? Because marriage is supposed to come before kids. So that first arrest for domestic violence, once I had to sit there and face the fact that I'm a flawed person, face the fact that, I wasn't getting arrested for domestic violence prior to the military, you know,
Right.
that was probably when I woke up and realized, like, I gotta look for a different way because whatever I'm doing was not working.
So clearly you had anger issues.
Oh yeah.
who's,
What I
poses
didn't
and
realize, because I perceive it like you're saying, I'm angry, but it was control. I didn't realize that. I had to know where he was at, what he was doing, and why didn't he show up? And like I did, but right, you're on deployment and you got your weapon, and if it's not on you, you're suspect, right? Where is it? So if a
damn,
spouse isn't, you can't relate that to a weapon. I don't know what else, in regards
dude.
to deployment military wise.
Did you notice that? And you bring up a good point where that accountability piece. Hey, where's my fucking weapon? It's like, hey, I got my weapon. For us, it's weapon K bar or whatever it
Yep.
is shit that you were issued. I got this and this. Okay, we're good.
Yep.
At least I'm accounted for. And me,
Yep.
obviously, for me, and the anger issues. And my kid's mom one day finally looked at me like, I don't think she hardly ever, but she looked at me and she's like, "The fuck is wrong with you?" And I'm like,
Like it's
in
out
my
of
head,
the
I'm like, huh,
ordinary how you're
yeah,
acting. Yeah.
yeah. I was like, huh. I'm like, maybe, and obviously almost choking a lieutenant and some other things,
Yeah.
but which
You
I've
get
shared
into
in the
the
show before.
details.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So now that you're clearly you're in a much better place.
Amen.
Looking back at your career, I guess, what would you tell that young? Yeah, here's a good question. What would you tell that young PFC? That she just got done with the yellow footprints. She's got her BDU. She just issued, still smelling like cash sales. From basic training, just checked into that first unit. Here's her, senior NCO, senior sergeant first class. Figueroa. What
Yep.
would you tell that young soldier?
Well, I did. I had a female that I grew up with from my hometown, and she went in way after. I mean, like I was probably, the tail end of mine by the time she went in. And I gave her the bit of advice that my cousin gave me, who was in the Marines, because I asked him for advice before I went in. He said, look, no matter where you're at, no matter what you're doing, they cannot stop time. The sands of time are running. So if you're getting smoked, if you're miserable, if the weather, whatever it is, you got a blister, time's running out. Eventually, you got to leave basic. Eventually, you got to go to the real world, and you're not, where they're going to be in charge of you 24/7, and you're going to get a little more freedom. But I also told her the bit of advice that I had from my experience in the military, and I told her, you don't really understand this yet because you just enlisted and raised your hand, you haven't gone yet. I said, but you and I are going to be sisters by the time you're in, because I mean, you can't even compare it to a sorority or a fraternity or even a family. Like it's there. You're part of the team, and that's just the way it is. And so I told her, the time's going to go quick, and you don't know your best days until you're out of them. So take pictures, take video, and those are going to be your homies for life. It goes by quick.
Would you do it all over again?
Oh, in a heartbeat. Are you kidding? Yeah, I would do it all over again. Just for the
Good.
people, not for the military, not for,
Right.
not anything we did overseas, but for the people, my brothers and sisters on the side of me.
Would you change anything?
I might go in with the rank that they had offered me originally, because I went in with some college under my belt. I should have went and did officer, candidate school, went in as an officer maybe. But I don't think I would have been able to help soldiers the way that I was able to little by little in my military career, because officers are usually more removed from the soldiers.
Yeah. I don't think good, bad, or indifferent. I think for me, I don't think I would change anything because obviously, I wouldn't be where I am today. I mean, yeah, I did retire as an officer. I did go enlisted, but even the residual stuff that we have to deal with post service,
Oh yeah.
I don't think I think I got a. I don't know if you ever heard of Aaron Siebert, Combat Vet Vision. If
I love his show. I'm such a fan.
yeah, like he says, I gotta own, even that stuff. You gotta own that. And kind of friend the monster, sort of. I was gonna say monster. Whoa,
Yeah.
there's a show. But you gotta friend, you gotta own that monster and friend it. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? So I don't think I would change anything for me. But
Yeah.
if you got any, for any of our audience, maybe there's some, and again, I know we kind of were chatting up right before the show, but what would you, if there's anybody out there in the audience, maybe there's some young ladies, that are probably listening to this with their parents, whatever, and they're like, man, I'm thinking of the service. What would you tell them, as a big sister, so to speak? What advice would you give them and say, hey, do it and, do this? I mean, what would be a good, big sisterly advice? Doesn't matter the branch. It doesn't really matter. But what would you say to that person right
I feel like as a female, the big thing will be respect. Respect yourself. Respect, whatever team you're on, whatever unit you're with, but also like respect your brothers and sisters around you. Not everything is like a popularity contest. You're going to have to be the big mean NCO sometimes and say no, and just own that and have them respect you, because it's hard to be a female in the military. It's hard to be a female out of the military. It's hard, enough as a female to be looked at and respected without all the distractions, because obviously females, we do tend to be distracting to men. So I would say respect yourself, respect others around you, and, hold yourself up to that standard.
That's awesome. Angel, where can people find you if they want to hear more of your story, want to engage with you, or ask you for advice?
Yeah, my email is Julia, Julia, 209-892-6547 at yahoo.com.
Are you on social media? Because I know you do. You got your degrees. You're holistic. You do all these other things. So if people want some of your help, hey, you got a couple of this is your moment. Boost your business. Whatever that you help, how you help people, go.
Yeah, I would really love to be any kind of a life coach, any kind of help or assistance to really any veterans. And I would love to open up my own nonprofit and be able to find and locate these people and help them. So look for that in the near future, see if I can go ahead and start up a nonprofit here in Texas and start helping out some local veterans. That'd be great.
Awesome. Angel, thanks so much first of all, thanks so much for your service and for giving your time to this great nation of ours. But also, thanks for being an awesome supporter of the show. Please always keep throwing your comments. We always look forward to that. But also, thank you for coming on our show and honoring us and sharing just a little bit of your story with our listeners. So, hey, thanks so much for that.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thanks so much. Hey, this was an amazing show. If you have any questions or anything, Angel is obviously, if you support the show, you're on our Facebook page. She's also on my personal, I guess on my brand, and that's public too. So if you want to, throw me a friend. We're also on Instagram, TikTok now, on the TikTok, not MySpace and stuff. Also, you're on our YouTube channel. So please feel free to go. And you can find me on LinkedIn as well. And, throw me a DM if you want to find them more. I'll be more than glad to connect you with Angel. So, but before we get out of here, everybody, I like to do the part. And basically, if you've been struggling, ruminating with other things, such as, just some bad times, or you just happen to find yourself going into that dark hole where, you just won't you dig yourself out of, by all means, please hit me up at the show. I'll pull some time and we can chat about it. We can get you some resources. There's plenty of things out there, because at the end of the day, while there's a lot of these good challenges out there in the name of veteran suicide and all that stuff, it's not going to bring your life back. We're going to be the ones being left behind with the burdens and the questions of how we could have helped you better. So reach out to our show, VA One Source, Military One Source, VA, TRICARE, all those other things, everybody. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and end this. Istomas, Daisuki, Ura, get some. See you next week. Yat!